All right. Welcome to Tina and Karen Do the Tube. I am Karen.
This is Tina.
All right, yeah. Just the two of us this week. We have no guest, but we have a lot we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss Rush Limbaugh, Kanye West divorce, Texas winter storm. None of that stuff. No.
Not really, no.
No.
We decided let's scrap the book and let's talk about the lighter stuff.
Yeah, we're not doing anything. The point of the Tina and Karen podcast mostly was to bullshit and to discover at the same time. This week is going to be more about bullshitting, not discovery. And we talked about it before we went on air, and I think Tina will agree. We just don't have any strong opinions about those three subjects, which I'm sure are the top news stories of the week, but we just don't have them.
We want to give you the news you're not hearing.
Yeah, the non-radical views on mostly mundane news. That's the original name for this podcast. But, all right, Tina, how's your week? How's your week been?
Well, I found out why I have a ceiling leak that drips right on my head while I'm sleeping.
Yeah, that would be important to figure out. What was up with that?
Apparently, during the storm a week or so ago, a branch snapped and impacted our roof.
You guys didn't know that up until this moment?
No, I don't spend too much time, in my room, let alone at the house. So,
yeah, every single time I've been over at your place, you usually crash on the couch.
Yeah, usually on the weekends, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So that was a big discovery.
Mm-hmm. As for me, I've been because of the snowstorm, I was doing a lot of overtime over the last weekend, and I had to put off some personal projects up until this point, and that's what I've been doing today. I've been just redoing my bathroom floor. It's been kind of, if anyone who's done a home improvement project knows, you make 2 or 3 trips to the hardware store, and hopefully it's only just 2 or 3 trips, but I had some hiccups, especially for an old house. There's a lot of things that are not to code, I'll tell you. For instance, the pipes that are my supply pipes for my sink that I had, they're coming out straight from the floor. Normally they come out of the wall. They're 3/8. Standard are usually a 1/2 inch, and I didn't have it. I had to go to a special plumbing store in order to get 3/8 connection because when I put in the tile in place, I had to cut off the valve to replace the new valves because the old valves leaked. But in the end, point is, I've been working all day. Haven't had too much time to think about our subjects, but kind of makes it a little more fresh. We'll react to things in real time.
Yeah, I know nothing about houses, and it will be interesting when I actually decide to buy a home.
Well, you're going to buy a houseboat, right?
I did consider that for like a few months, a few years ago.
All right.
The mortgage fee, though, is just,
Okay. So, the things we are going to discuss with you guys today, we're going to discuss about how to teach children controversial topics. And that's our first story, but we're also going to be discussing Pokemon cards. Apparently, they're worth a lot. Just like GameStop stocks, Pokemon cards are hot. Buy. And and lastly, we're going to discuss Chinese professors who are teaching history through a different lens. Okay, but let's start with the first story. So earlier this week, I sent you, Tina, a video for you to watch. It's from a guy named JP. God damn it, I don't know his last name. I just forgot his last name. But anyways, he's a very popular YouTuber.
He works for the Washington Post, right?
Yes, he does. He writes for the Washington Post. He's a very popular YouTuber, and he's Canadian. I'm sure most people know. Not most people who are listening to this, but people will find him. His name's JP. And
shout out to JP.
I've always enjoyed his channel because he's sort of an informative, educational, political channel and historical channel. And he's he has his opinions, but he does a pretty good job trying to remain neutral and objective. And
is it JP or is it JJ McCullough?
Oh, it's JJ. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, so I guess I don't listen to this guy too much. I'm thinking of JP Patches. God damn it. But JJ McCullough, yeah.
Hmm.
And JJ, he did a video recently talking about how to teach kids about controversial subjects. And I wanted to get Tina's thoughts on this,
Mm.
particularly. So, what are your opinions about teaching, especially in terms of politics?
Mm.
Teaching kids about political figures. Do you teach them the whole truth, or you just sort of like teach
Or
them?
just unpopular people, maybe.
Yeah. So in the video that we're talking about, and I'll send a link into our description.
Hmm.
JJ specifically highlights a couple of figures: Pete Buttigieg, Donald Trump, and Hitler.
Yeah. My thoughts. I gotta think about like how I was raised, and I don't particularly recall like being very sheltered, but as far as like learning about those events, I really don't recall like maybe I knew about the World War II and the Holocaust, but really didn't like go over it in school until maybe like middle school.
Really?
Obviously, like parents and like even like the church was very conservative, and they would talk about politics and everything, and why they would vote Republican, and but
Your church talked about politics?
not well. The pastor didn't know, but like adults went after church would, or if there was any like church gathering, they would occasionally talk about politics and stuff like that.
Funny, yeah. I mean, like, I know that most Christians lean towards the right and they tend to be conservatives.
Hmm.
But when I went to church as a kid, I don't remember any political conversations ever. That's funny, but I didn't talk to too many people. Um, you know, I didn't like church too much, and as many kids don't.
Yeah, I mean I enjoyed it partly because I you grew up in it, and I had kids I would hang out with, if, within a year or two of age, and we just all had a good time.
So were you
But
part of your, like, church's youth group?
yeah, youth group, Sunday school. Sunday school went through all of elementary school,
Did you have a
so
confirmation, or I don't know what kind of church you
I
went
did a
to?
confirmation. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Hmm.
I went to a specific. I went to a Lutheran church. Not that I
Not
would
too
just.
different from I went to an evangelical church, so
Okay. See, I the thing is, I don't. My religious views are complicated, but I don't call myself a Lutheran.
yeah,
Not that I have
neither
anything
do
against
I.
Lutherans, but it's just I'm not in.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, going back to like the topic, um, I didn't feel sheltered if someone. I guess why I'm also starting with the church too is like if kids are very um, impressionable, I guess, and if you're teaching them about like controversial people or unpopular people, and you have maybe a slanted position, it if you grow up within that sort of position, it can be very hard later in life to sometimes like change your mind. I know like me like coming out of the church wasn't easy, and I flipped back and forth for like a couple of years before I decided to really kind of stay out of it. Um,
Did your parents talk to you a lot about current events and news and politics, or was that something they sheltered you from? They just want to focus on your education, or did they actually discuss like values with
I
you?
don't think they really did. They would discuss who like they're voting for and like why they would vote that way, mostly because of abortion. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think like the church just has a history, well, at least in the 20th century history of supporting more conservative, at least since the 80s, conservative.
Well, yeah, because the pro-life position is almost is exclusively. Well, I mean, not exclusively. Well, yeah, exclusively. It's
Mhm.
it's known for Republicans, but I mean, Tulsi Gabbard's opinions on the abortion are more, I think, more in lines with mine.
Mhm.
Where we shouldn't be
Yeah.
glorifying it, but at the same time, it can't. It's not. It's what you would call a necessary evil.
Yeah, I mean, try to imagine explaining that to a kid too. Like,
Yeah, you can't really explain that sort of. You're right. So like that comes back to the original discussion that we had with JJ. Not we had with JJ. He brought up. How do you have those kind of discussions with kids? Do you even attempt it, or do you? Did your parents ask you questions?
I don't recall them being very much involved in my schoolwork. They both had work jobs, so I mean they were around, but not they weren't there to help. And I was, fortunately gifted enough to not really need a lot of help with my homework. So
Yeah.
I feel like most of my maybe more, I guess, political or controversial opinions came from watching The Simpsons a lot. And
Oh, really?
usually my parents didn't like it, but because it's not a very Christian friendly program, but I guess maybe since it was funny or relatable in some way, I'd still watch it every weekday and some weekends too.
You know what the funny thing about The Simpsons I realized? They really can tell how the culture has changed.
How so?
So like Ned Flanders is the best character to talk about. So if you watch the early seasons of The Simpsons, Ned Flanders, the whole joke about Ned is that he's perfect. Everything in his life goes well for him. Perfect home, perfect wife, perfect job, perfect life. And he does everything right. And in accordance with his perfect life, he's a good Christian man. And he's in contrast to Homer and The Simpsons, who are obviously flawed. As the seasons go on, and you look at the later seasons, he's just a religious fanatic. That's his whole shtick. But but you look back at, like, okay, so in the 80s and 90s, part of being a good person was just being a good Christian at the same time as being a good citizen in terms of being a business owner or a father or a family man.
Yeah.
And that's just what the character of Ned, I swear to you, go back and watch the early seasons. They don't really hype the religious side of Ned too much. I mean, he's obviously religious, but it's not overbearing.
You think they kind of started to dive more into his like fanaticism, maybe because they've just had so many episodes that they just kind of have to develop characters more and more.
Well, there is the idea that, like, as television shows go on, characters become more one-dimensional.
It would be more the opposite, I guess. Or would you say is more three-dimensional or less?
I don't know. I don't watch the later seasons of Simpsons very much.
Yeah, I know. Like I mean, his big thing is like his, when his wife got killed, and.
But do you ever notice how as television series go kind of forward, the characters start pretty. They might have a certain quirk to them, and then as the series goes on, all their character is the quirk. I've noticed that, but I've noticed that because and it's an easy way to get a laugh out of people, because if you make this character, he's a stereotype in this way. We should generalize him in this way. Early on, when you're writing characters, they're just sort of, I guess, bland, but they're at least somewhat neutral, and then you just sort of go what the audience goes with.
Yeah, they're kind of that way, and they're kind of develop more as they find out what people like or relate to that character, and then try to expound on that more.
Yeah.
Maybe in a sitcom, whereas maybe in in a book, you have all the time to develop the character you want without outside opinion, outside of maybe the editor and a few friends.
Can you think of an example of a book character that has been simplified for television or film?
Oh, okay.
I know it's a big question because I don't have one off the top of my head, but is there a character that you read the book, you read the character, and you realize this is a completely complex character, and then in the series or movie that is based on the book, they just hit one note about his character?
Fuck. That is a good question. Something. Man, nothing's really come to mind at the moment. Do you have some?
I have one. So I haven't read these books, So I take this with a grain of salt, the listener.
Okay.
But if you watch Game of Thrones, one character who becomes sort of a one-note joke is Euron Greyjoy. So Euron Greyjoy in the series is sort of a frat boy douchebag. But if you read the books, apparently, from what I've heard from a lot of like people who've read the books, he's a far more interesting character. He's far more mysterious, far more brooding, far more dark. And that they hate the fact, in terms of all the characters that were adapted for the screen, Euron is probably the worst represented character in that whole series because he's just dumbed down to the jock.
Okay, maybe the author has a plan for him in his next 2 books, but the writers of the show at the time didn't exactly know how to fit him, so they kind of just reduced him down to his most characteristic
and I'm
aspects.
rewatching Game of Thrones right now, and I want to read the books. I really do. I've started reading the first one, but I mean, that's going to take some time. I want to see how the series differs from the books. But Euron, from all the people who have read the books, have basically demonstrated that the character is it is not representative of the book character. He's incredibly far more complex, far more mysterious, far more dark than the frat boy douchebag that we get on screen.
Okay.
And
so how would you pose Euron in a children's book?
Okay, let's get back to the main topic. I'm not going to talk about Euron too much, but like the video in question, they highlight Pete Buttigieg, Donald Trump, and Hitler, and that's you. Okay, so there was no Do you think there was a neutral way to teach about Hitler, or should we always teach why he was so wrong?
I feel like you kind of have to.
You have to.
If you could teach a neutral position, and I'm not saying it's wrong to
I think it would be wrong
do that, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem right. So.
I think that we should teach kids, maybe not young kids, but like maybe, I don't know, third to sixth grade. I don't know when you start like teaching kids more like they would be like soon to be adults.
I think once they get a really good grasp of like the English, or better grasp of the English language, then
yeah. But at the same time, like there's certain figures that you have to teach kids about evil. And there's
who's the first evil character we usually introduce to kids? Satan.
I would say Darth Vader. But
Darth Vader.
No, but he redeems himself in the end, so he's not truly a villain. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Voldemort, Satan, of course.
Sure,
There's
yeah.
Satan, yeah. But
usually through like children's novels or those sorts of books.
No, but I think you need to in my personal opinion, you should teach kids about evil. Now, there are controversial public figures, and that's the bigger question mark. Because like, there's no one who denies the evil of Hitler or Stalin or people like this. But now let's talk about someone like more relevant, Donald Trump. Donald Trump, he's loved by many and hated by many more.
Mm-hmm.
How do you remain neutral on a man who there's no one who has a neutral opinion on him?
That's for sure, yeah.
So do you teach?
I thought,
yeah,
he gave a few examples in the video, right? Where the book would try to like highlight like some positive things he did while also balancing out with maybe like a negative thing he did. So they tried to keep it within kind of a certain balance, but usually like it was very, very vague.
Yeah. So there's always the idea like the balance. You have to teach it from like, so Hitler, for instance, from his point of view, no one in history from their own point of view was evil. They all had their reasons for doing what they did. Hitler is no exception. He thought he was doing the right thing for his people. Do you teach kids that that's what he was doing, or do you teach kids that he was doing the evil thing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there were children's books in 1945 in Germany that were, or 44 before, that were much more pro-Hitler than than they are now.
Oh, Germans are programmed to be authoritarians based on Hitler, mostly.
They're robots.
They are. No, that's no joke. I mean, like, it seems like a really terrible thing to say because you say Germans are robots. That sounds racist. That sounds really, like, kind of controversial to say. But Germans, like, culture is... The way we teach kids does have influence on what they become later in life. And we have a whole generation of Hitler youth that went on to basically run Germany.
Yeah, I mean, I think the U.S. just expelled a former Nazi just within the last day or so back to Germany to be tried.
That'd be controversial because considering the first ever head and director of NASA was a Nazi.
I know, yeah. Isn't that,
That's kind of...
So that's why it's a tricky position, you know. And you know, the question JJ poses is, well, I guess the title of the video is "Being Fair and Balanced Always Good," but in my mind, I feel like the question he's really posing is, you know, when is it right to educate your children about these types of people?
Right. So the I'll go back to the three examples he uses in the video. There's Pete Buttigieg, Donald Trump, and Hitler. Mm-hmm. It seems like in his personal point of view, there's no problem in teaching kids the evil of Hitler. But then he brings up the fact that Pete Buttigieg and Donald Trump are two ends of the political spectrum. So from one point of view, they're evil. From the other point of view, they're good. How do you teach? Do you teach both sides of that? Or do you just sort of try to be as unbiased and neutral or try to give them a position? Because I don't think that either Donald Trump or Buttigieg reached the level of true evil. I know a lot of people want to think Donald Trump reaches the level of true evil, but he's out of office. He didn't do anything that bad. Honestly, I really believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk about it, but I've heard arguments that you could argue he's the most evil person in history. But
yeah. How so? I know you don't want to talk about it. We can talk about it off the air.
I know it's its own controversial opinion, but it has to do with a purposeful ignorance of climate change.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about that off the air.
Mm-hmm.
But even then,
let's say we don't educate our children, you know, about controversial people. Where are they going to form their opinions? Classmates that get their opinions from their parents or TV?
I'll tell you one thing. I definitely don't want their opinions coming from public school teachers because they're god-awful.
The Simpsons?
Definitely not The Simpsons either. I think we should talk to our kids. Well, you shouldn't talk to your kids directly about politics. You should just talk to your kids about values.
I mean, I don't even recall having a remote interest in politics until later in high school.
Yeah, my first forte into politics was was probably Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert.
Yeah. Comedy Central.
Yeah.
So kind of the golden age there.
I don't know what made me want to watch them in the first place, but that's kind of what I watched. And honestly, I don't know why. I don't have a real answer.
Because it's funny, maybe.
Maybe it's because it's funny. That could be it. Mm-hmm. But
so when and how, I guess, are the big questions. I think you're hitting the nail close to the head when you say we should try to teach them both sides, and that can be really hard as a parent to try and not, for any person to try and even argue both sides of an argument.
I think my dad, once again, he didn't talk politics with us kids very much. The only thing that he told me when I was a kid that I think rings true today, and you can tell me if you think this sounds impartial, but he told me when I was a kid, when I first understood the idea of political parties and political differences, he told me the Republicans think that the Democrats believe the government should take care of the people, and the Republicans think that people should just take care of themselves. Do you think that's like a neutral point of view, or is that a editorialized opinion point of view?
It doesn't sound very neutral.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay.
I mean, it doesn't sound very radical either.
I mean, I was questioning that. I was thinking, like, is the question more complex than that? But the thing is, it's so simple, because I think that really is, when you get down to it, the major difference between the two parties. Is one thinks the government is there to solve the problems, and the other one believes that like the people should basically solve their own problems. I didn't think it was that radical when I heard it, but over time I realized, am I simplifying major issues?
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong in this. Maybe my dad was wrong in teaching me that way.
I mean, the reason why I wouldn't want to have to, teach them about this is because I want them to be able to form their own, opinions, kind of like how, they almost teach themselves, how to speak and talk and everything.
I would disagree with that only in the sense that the schools are not impartial.
That's why I do think you do have to teach them to some extent, because if they don't get it from you, they're going to get it from somewhere else. And right. Not to say you're going to be their, the rock bed of their, formation of opinion.
We can wrap up here soon because we have a few more things we want to talk about. But I have a friend who was completely, I don't want to say naive on most things political, but he didn't know what his opinion was. I would say I'll put it this way. I consider there to be three different positions that people can hold. There's the person who is informed on politics, who's a Democrat. There's the person who's informed on politics, who's a Republican. And then there's the person who's uninformed on politics, who's a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, I think that the default position is Democrat.
Just probably because the school system in general, or
the media, Hollywood,
okay,
the schools, yeah, like all the institutions of our country points one direction, and if you don't know any better, you're going to lean towards the left.
Mm-hmm.
So, I remember thinking
it also depends on where you grew up too, and
could be. It could be.
Say you grew up watching Fox News like every day,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But in my experience, that the most uninformed people usually, like for instance, like I only use this one guy as an example. He had no knowledge of anything political. He told me he was a Bernie Sanders supporter. I actually questioned him about what he believes. After 5 minutes, I knew he was not really a Bernie Sanders supporter. He just thought that Bernie Sanders was a good guy. And then like now he's a Trump supporter. So that's why I believe that there's three positions that someone can hold. You can be an informed Democrat, an informed Republican, or an uninformed Democrat. But you're right. There could be people out there who are uninformed Republicans. I just don't think that the culture leans that way. I just don't think that if you don't think about politics, that you're just going to say, yeah, I side with the Republicans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess that maybe what I would say now, what I would want to teach my kids is how to form an opinion, and how to take from both sides, and not just take take everything with a grain of salt and just believe what, teachers or the media is just telling you, like,
I would,
go explore, what the other side is saying too, and any other avenue that,
I would definitely want to teach my kid to be a skeptic. But I also want to teach my kids, like, I want to ask the questions of what their values are. I don't know, where does the kids get their value? That's the real question, because depending on what you if I can get one answer out of someone, what they value, I can understand where they're going to lean politically.
Mm-hmm.
If they value safety and security and equality, it's a Democrat. If it's going to be freedom and competition and opportunity, they're probably going to lean Republican.
Yeah,
that's my perspective, at least.
I think some of the problem, like being an adult, especially these days, and at least for me, I can't really speak for someone else, is, trying not to be too much of a skeptic. Like, skepticism is good in doses, but it's not good as an overall philosophy.
Really?
I don't think so, no.
I want to hear more about that, but I'm going to take a quick piss break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, so hold on for a second. And we're back. Hey. So, I forgot where we were.
Pokemon cards.
Yeah, I was going to say we should probably move on to our next subject. Do you have any closing thoughts on the first one?
I think that was I think that's what I kind of gathered and even learned for myself, was that, I would want my kids to teach them how to be open-minded and to learn how to form a good, proper opinion.
Mm-hmm. You did say something about skepticism that I would love to hear more about, like why skepticism itself is not a good ideology or a good framework.
I mean, skepticism is good to a degree, but I think if you're just skeptical of everything, it's a philosophy that kind of just eats itself, where you don't know what to believe. Yeah,
that's true, and that could be a topic for a future podcast, because
for sure.
Yeah, but I actually do agree.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be interesting to figure out, how do you reduce your skepticism to something more analytical? And I think you have to find the sources you trust the most. And you should be skeptical of all sources, but once you kind of draw that line, and even then you shouldn't basically, even if you find the sources that you think are the most reasonable, you should still be skeptical. But maybe I'm wrong on that. But moving on. So Pokemon.
Yeah.
All right, Pokemon trading cards.
We finally arrived at that time where if you have your Pokemon cards, now might be the best time to sell.
Oh my God. So the day has finally come indeed. So this is according to Dextro.com. But Pokemon trading cards see a 500% jump in sales on eBay. Over the last,
there are like whole like starter packs, like going for hundreds of thousands of dollars now. And
do you think Beanie Babies are gonna take that bump?
I mean, that's my guess right now. I'm like, what's next? What have I saved up over time that might be of value now, or could be soon?
Yeah, those were the two big things I remember growing up in the 90s. Is the two things that were going to be really valuable, that everyone said was going to be valuable, were Pokemon cards and Beanie Babies.
Would have you put your money on Pokemon or Beanie Babies back then?
Back then, I would have put all my money on Beanie Babies. Because that was the big fucking thing, I tell you. I thought Pokemon...
Did you own a lot? I remember a few people that owned quite a few.
I had a good amount of Beanie Babies, yeah. Why did we think these would be valuable? I don't understand. I just don't understand why. That's amazing to me.
Well, it seems like this Pokemon thing is kind of seeing a new light because of this, reaction video phenomenon going on YouTube, kind of led by Logan Paul, but a lot of other Twitch streamers too, where, like they buy these things for tons of money just to create a video, where they get a lot of views so they can advertise their own, platform or their,
It's kind of funny
Yeah.
how easily these kind of markets can be manipulated by celebrities, right?
Yeah, I mean, Logan Paul himself probably drove the price halfway where it is right now.
Yeah, and Elon Musk made Dogecoin a thing.
Yeah, now he's getting off Dogecoin, and he he even came out against not against Bitcoin, but he said he doesn't believe in it as that much, but he believes in it more than liquid money.
Did you sell your Bitcoin? I can't remember.
I did, yeah. I did not have diamond hands.
Oh my God, that's. Oh, I hate to remind you.
I really don't think about it that much. I mean, I'm doing pretty well financially, so I mean, at the time, you know, here's the story. I bought, like 5 Bitcoins for like $600 a piece back in 2014, 2015, somewhere in there. And then right as it was coming down from a high of like 1,200, and then it dipped down to like below like 200, and I was like, God damn it, like it's only my second time really getting into like any sort of air quotes investing. And I basically said, I'd put in, $3,000, and that's as much as I was willing to just completely, gamble away. And
Yeah.
I forgot about it. And then all of a sudden, 2-3 years later, it, was jumped up, to around $1,000, $1,200. I'm like, shit, just double my money. I'm going to sell it right now because who knows how low it could go. And then it took off to like 22,000. And
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Did you ever do the math as to how much it would have been worth if you didn't sell? Or
If I still had it, it would be about 250K right now.
Oh wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. And I am a much more conservative investor. I'm much more the cash cow type philosophy. I'm just gonna back a proven entity. I don't do a lot of penny stocks or emerging markets or anything volatile. I just want to go with something I know has sustainable growth. I don't care if I'll never be rich one day. I just want to know that my money is keeping track with inflation, and that's mine.
Yeah, I mean that's a perfectly great reason to be in the stock market is
Yeah.
just to, because it covers inflation.
Right. Right. Well, we'll see about that because inflation might rise dramatically in the near future. But back to Speaking of inflation, back to Pokemon cards. So on February 11, 2021, eBay, one of the top online stores for buying and selling Pokemon cards, who knew, released their statistics on trading cards. To the surprise of no one, trading cards in general saw a 142% increase in sales, with Pokemon card transactions boasting an incredible increase of over 500%. Increase in
insane.
sales, yes.
And this doesn't surprise me because I have a roommate who's currently selling Pokemon cards the last few months on eBay.
Really?
Yeah, a sad story actually is one of his friends died, but he's helping his widow sell the cards, and he gets like 10% commission. And he's sold some of because his friend was a big Pokemon card collector, and he sold like one or two of his items for over $30,000.
Yes.
So far.
Yeah, here's this number right here. A 1999 base first edition Hollow Shadowless Charizard card got sold for $350,000.
Wow.
I mean, these
you remember when Pokemon first came about, right? We were both of the same age where we're right in the demographic of when they really became popular.
Of course. First generation will never die, baby. 150. Original 150. I'm all about it. I still play those games sometimes.
Dude, they're good games for how simple they are, aren't they?
I know. And I remember back in school, back in elementary school, they banned Pokemon cards because too many kids were getting ripped off with trading.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember I traded my Farfetch'd, which was my first Pokemon card, for Eradicate. I don't know what to make of that, but that's the first trade I ever made. God.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to remember. I mean, I had cards.
That's introducing kids to economics right there.
Oh yeah, how the school will come in and stop you from prevent you from making trades because they don't like, you know,
Oh, that's
people
definitely
getting
reminiscent
chested.
of the fucking Robin Hood right now.
It does scream that, doesn't it?
It does, really. What? Why do you think Pokemon has become the international powerhouse it is today? What about it is so
Why not
popular?
baseball cards, right?
Right, right. Because there are valuable baseball cards, but I remember as a kid, I'm sure in our parents' generation, it was all about baseball cards.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For,
Like it probably was years like that, and
but for us, it was Pokemon cards. What changed? Why?
it probably had to do with the incoming, Japanimation and video games and all that, and that probably had a big influence on why Pokemon may have become so popular.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's definitely a correlation. I don't know if I don't think you can say it's the direct cause, but definitely a correlation.
Yeah, the report also, this is from the same article, the report also confirmed that Pokemon topped the charts as the #1 trading card game in terms of 2020 sales. That beats out, it's just
Magic the Gathering, maybe?
Magic the Gathering, yeah, that's the big one. I've heard some people complain about Magic the Gathering lately, though.
Oh, really? How so?
It's getting woke.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
they're getting to our card games.
Yeah, I know. They've banned a few cards for being racist.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I know. But anyways, I know some people in the Magic the Gathering community, I guess. But
it's surprising that Magic cards aren't more valuable because people actually use those to play rather than Pokemon cards, which they don't.
I was gonna say, like, I don't think that many people actually play the game of Pokemon.
No,
trading.
I think I remember learning kind of, but maybe even trying it once or twice, but I don't recall ever using the cards to play.
Yeah, but as you point out, Magic the Gathering actually has tournaments. They have like world-renowned players. These are yeah. So, but it's ironically enough Pokemon that kind of swept the craze. The Pokemon card craze shows no signs of slowing down, and with the 25th anniversary right around the corner, there's no better time to get into the game or come back after an absence. A long fucking absence, because I probably can count the number of Pokemon games I've played on one hand.
I stuck it with it through, I think, middle school, maybe even early high school, like playing the video games on Game Boy, and I definitely stopped collecting cards,
but not
probably a year or two after they came out.
But not the video games. How many actual card matches did you play?
I remember shuffling like decks of them. I don't remember playing them.
That's what I'm saying. I think I can count the number of times I actually played a match on one hand. Now, Yu-Gi-Oh! Fuck yeah, I'll play Yu-Gi-Oh! Any day of the week. That's a badass card game. But Pokemon,
definitely edgier.
It was far more adult. Dark
I remember watching mostly because I had basic, cable, and that was what was on Sunday mornings and the weekends. But I think I like Pokemon more. It kind of introduced me more to like role playing the video games. As a young kid, it was easy, simple to learn. It wasn't too hard.
Was there a role playing game in particular that? Okay, so if Pokemon was your introduction, was there a role playing game in particular that pops up in your mind as like your favorite? I guess I asked it in a really weird way. What's your favorite role-playing game?
Oh, definitely Baldur's Gate, the series, and I can't wait for the third one to fully come out.
All right. As you know, for me, it's...
I think we all know yours.
Yeah, for me, it's...
Our loyal listeners.
Yeah, we... One of our more popular videos, but I love Final Fantasy VII, and I snapped up the remake in a heartbeat, and I can't wait for the next one to come out. I really fucking can't.
Did you finish it?
No.
Okay.
I got to
not surprising.
No. I sort of drift in and out of games, and then I finish them when I need to. But I'm at the point where, for fans of the series, I am at the point where Cloud, Barrett, and Tifa ascend to Shinra headquarters. They're actually they get out of Walmarka, and they're actually going to go save Aerith. Or Aerith. God damn it, that's going to be weird to say.
Yeah, but I think Pokemon was really like a lead-in into that kind of realm. Maybe for other like younger generations, maybe it was like the actual D&D real tabletop game. But for me, it was like the Game Boy Pokemon game, and I don't know if the video game didn't come out at the same time, if I would have ever still been as interested. Maybe the TV show would have kept me a little bit, but it was definitely the video game that I liked the most.
I like the video game. I don't remember ever playing the card games. Those were more like that was very much like
I really don't think anyone. I mean, maybe I'm sure there were people, but the vast majority of people didn't
like,
ever play with the cards.
well, it's funny enough. It depends on what the kid is into because, like, I think the video games were far more for the active kids who actually just want to play it. The card games were for the savvy-minded, long-term thinkers. Because now, these kids are fucking sitting pretty.
Pretty.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry, I've been drinking, so as you know. All right.
But it's these same kids that are buying these cards now, right? You think it's the nostalgia that's going on, or is it because of the reaction videos, or is it inflation? I don't know.
I think it has to do with the influencers. We are at their mercy at this point. Whatever they start picking up becomes the trends. They're very powerful.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd see Pokemon. I mean, obviously, I thought people probably did hold on to Pokemon cards for like 50 years. Would see some real value come out of that. I didn't see it coming just like almost 25 years. Yeah, the 25th anniversary is coming up. 25 years afterwards.
Yeah.
Damn, it really makes me wish I would have maybe saved something, at least.
I kind of remember giving all my cards to my sister.
I remember giving all my cards to like a neighborhood kid. He was like, just take them.
I know I know people who like have held on to them. They're the smart, savvy people. They're the long-term thinkers. I swear to God, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. We have about time for one more segment.
Yeah.
I want to know what you wanted to talk about, though, because I have a choice here. We could talk about this headline I sent you from Taiwan English News about the Chinese professor, or we could do an Am I the Asshole?
Am I the asshole? I want to do that.
Okay. So, for those who were going to miss out on this, we were going to talk about this headline, Chinese professor, there were no ancient Western civilizations, just modern fakes made to demean China. Okay. Look that one up.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, look that one up because that's a great one. There is no such thing as Western civilization. It was all basically fakes to make China look bad. Okay.
I'm glad that story came out.
That's a great one. Yeah, Professor. Jesus Christ. So I got two different choices I got for you.
Okay.
Which one do you want to discuss? We got stepdaughter that doesn't want to give a hug to a disabled boy. Or a mom, aunt, and sister who all have been disinvited from a wedding for a hardcore action.
The stepdaughter.
You really... Yeah, I was thinking the same one. All right. Okay, so I'm going to read the scenario to you, and we're going to discuss this. So, am I the asshole for telling my stepdaughter that she does not have to hug the disabled boy in her class?
All right.
All right. Quick background. I am a neurotypical? What the fuck? I don't know that term. I am a neurotypical, so please correct me if anything I say is offensive or incorrect. I refer to her as my stepdaughter in the title and not my daughter to highlight that I am a relatively new parent, and I'm still not sure about a lot of how I'm supposed to handle things. My stepdaughter is 6, and I've been in her life since she was about 3. Last year, pre-COVID, my stepdaughter was involved in a kids' theater group for fun. We had her pick one weekly activity to join. Expecting a sport, she's very into football, but she surprised us. We used to go to 1 or 2 times a week. I don't know what that's a bad phrase sentence. But all right, there's a boy in her class who I will call John. John is neurodivergent. What's neurodivergent?
Do you ever seen the Divergent series?
No.
They're superpowered people.
I don't think that's what he meant. I think that's a sort of a politically correct term for neurodivergent.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a politically correct term for special.
It's got Down syndrome.
Oh, sure. Though I'm not sure exactly what his disabilities are, he has a lot of aggression and is easily overstimulated. ADHD. His mom expressed that she was trying to get him more comfortable around other kids so she could feel okay starting him in kindergarten. John would spit, slap, and pull her hair. These actions were always either immediately disciplined or stopped before they could ever happen by his mom, who seemed to be vigilant and a caring parent. On Valentine's Day, however, she had John bring in cards for everyone in the group. She had him go around and hand the cards out personally and either give a fist bump, high five, or a hug. With most of the girls, he'd hug them and even give them a small cheek kiss. I could see my daughter starting to panic. She hates being touched. She has some sensory issues herself and barely lets even me or her father, I guess her actual father, kiss her goodnight or hug hello. I told her not to worry, and if she didn't want to hug, she could say so. Her eyes got wide and teary, and I asked if I could tell him for her. I said, "Why don't you try first? If you can't, I'll always help you." Well, this is a good stepdad. Oh, shit, it keeps going. When he came up to us with the card, my daughter took it and said the gentlest, squeakiest little no I've ever heard when he wanted to hug her. He either didn't hear or didn't realize what she wanted, so I placed my hand on her shoulder and pulled her back towards me, saying, "Thank you so much, John." Stepdaughter. My stepdaughter doesn't want a hug. His mother looked like she'd been slapped. Her face went red, and then she was the one tearing up. She rushed John away and shot a "Thanks, that's great. That's just really great" behind her as she went with him to the other side of the room. The other parents, mostly moms, of course, totally took her side and did not chat with me much for the few weeks we still met for theater after the incident. I was pretty much a pariah. I was very much viewed as the grown-ass woman who just bullied a disabled child. My daughter was very apologetic, which broke my heart. I was helping her in the car, and she said, "I'll just hug him next time, okay?" I do not want her to even think she has to adjust her boundaries for anyone. But I have so much sympathy for that young mom who is just trying to help her son and can't help but I feel like I threw a wrench in it. Am I the asshole?
Ooh. Did it say how old the children were?
Yeah, about 6.
6, okay. Ooh. So she basically feared that because this kid has been known to be a little aggressive and antisocial, and her own daughter was sensitive to being touched or overly stimulated.
She didn't like to be touched. She doesn't like. That's a simple part of it. She doesn't like being touched, and this kid had a reputation for being aggressive. Probably not his fault if he's mentally handicapped, but she just didn't want to be hurt, or I'm assuming that's what it is.
Okay. She came in and she said she's the one that stopped the hug, right? That wasn't the daughter, right?
No, the parent, the stepdad. He's the one who stopped the hug because he could see that his stepdaughter was uncomfortable.
Okay. But then the stepdaughter ended up getting mad and said, "You should have just let me hug hug him afterwards, right?
Apparently, because of the ostracization from the rest of her
Mm-hmm.
peers, she just thinks that next time she'll just hug for
Yeah.
simplicity. Because, do you- I, so I guess it's about the whole group of
I get.
parents
I
that
mean, with
judged.
the asshole part, like someone has to play the other asshole, right? Is it?
No, who is the asshole in this scenario? It could be the other parents because they assume that you should always cater to the needs of a special needs person.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to quantify since neither parent really knows the other kid as much as they do their own, right?
Right. And I don't know. Do you think that like it's important to teach your kids to go outside their comfort zone in order to make certain people, like a special needs person, feel welcomed and happy?
I would certainly not want my kids to treat special needs kids to to make fun of them or maybe
No.
bully them or something like that.
Of course not. Yeah. But like I mean like if your kid is uncomfortable being touched, but it makes the special needs kids really happy to get a hug, would you tell your kid just give the kid a hug, or would you say you don't have to hug that kid if you don't want to? Like how do you treat because I can see both sides of this argument. I can see the
Yeah.
idea that you don't want to actually make your daughter, especially your stepdaughter, uncomfortable. She doesn't have to be. But at the same time, you kind of want to encourage your kids to maybe go outside their comfort zone in order to make others feel welcomed, if especially with special needs.
Yeah, I would say it would be probably a good learning point. If the kid did react negatively, as a parent, you might feel bad, but I don't think it's the end of the world if something bad does happen.
So you think that he was right in pulling his daughter away, stepdaughter?
I don't think he's wrong. I definitely was within his right as a parent, protecting his children if he thought she might be kind of, I don't know, emotionally threatened or
Uncomfortable with the situation. I kind of remember that as a kid. I don't know why I felt that way, but like with learning disabled people, mentally handicapped people, I felt awkward around them.
I never. That's a good.
But at the same time, I think it was good for me to experience time with them too. So I remember volunteering for my church as like different volunteer services, and a lot of that had to do with the handicapped. And I felt kind of weird because I didn't understand what it meant to be that way. So it just came off as odd to me. But at the same time, I think I picked up pretty fast that what was going on. I should do my best to be accommodating and as nice as possible. However, I understand the feeling of being estranged to this whole situation.
Okay, let's play this differently. What if the girl was like the children were 12 instead of 6? Is there a different kind of adolescent aspect to it that would? I think it's more on the kid than at that point than on the adult per se, right?
I think you're right. The older kids get, the more responsibility we attribute to them. And with a 12-year-old, I think might be around the same age where I started getting exposed to these sort of charitable cases, and I was more mature enough to understand what I should be doing in that sort of situation. So I think at the age of 6, it really is on the parent because the 6-year-old doesn't know any better. Well,
yeah.
So at that
they
point,
may know something's not completely right with the kid, but they don't have a fuller understanding per se.
And that's the way that the stepdad points it out in this sort of scenario. He didn't know what the full story behind this kid was, but he knew that the kid was handicapped, special, challenged, whatever you want, whichever word you want to use, and that his daughter was uncomfortable.
I want to say the assholes are the other parents outside of those two parents that ostracized or were judgmental about what was going on.
I kind of agree because it's 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, a 6-year-old doesn't know any better.
Yeah, that's
Like,
for sure. I mean,
yeah.
she should probably try to encourage her to be outside of her comfort zone, but you shouldn't push too hard,
No, and I don't think that, like, if I had
especially for something like just like it was just a hug or whatever.
Yeah, so this is a really easy question when you frame it this way. You have a daughter, she's 6 years old, she feels uncomfortable hugging someone, do you force her to hug her? Hug the other person. Even if you think it's for the better that she hugged this person.
I mean, if she was uncomfortable around, let's say it was a normal kid, I probably wouldn't even force her to do that,
But that's the thing, because if it's a normal kid, but with this kid, you kind of, with the special needs kids, you have to basically teach them about why we should be more accommodating to them.
Yeah, it might make that kid feel more ostracized or different.
But at the same time, at 6 years old, I think that it's really just it's too young. I don't know if that's too young to understand it. What do you think? I don't punish the father for protecting his daughter in this scenario. I would say the asshole is definitely the other parents in the group who don't understand what it's like to be 6 years old.
Mm-hmm. Or, I mean, what if that was their daughter and they were uncomfortable?
Right.
Everyone might have a different position.
In that situation, I definitely protect the daughter and then later explain to her more about what it is to be disabled and why we should make special accommodations for them.
Yeah, or to be understanding, maybe if they aren't acting, like the other kids, or maybe that's why they seem a little more, aggressive, or they're just not picking up on social cues or stuff like that.
Right. Hey, I don't want to end this so abruptly, but like we're at the good point to stop because I still have to get dinner.
Mm-hmm.
But
a lot of kid talk.
Well, Pokemon, kids books, and disabled kids. It's a great podcast. It's very kid friendly, with the language and the talk about porn and whatnot. And the only reason I said the word porn is so I could put it in the tag so we can get more views.
There we go.
Yeah. Yes. It's in the views. Yep.
For the views.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you have any closing thoughts for the week?
Just that I'll be busy next week. I got my sister's wedding ceremony next Saturday or Sunday, still not sure. And then I got to get ready for Hawaii on the next Monday.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll still do the podcast. I'll let you know what time will be best. But yeah, if I seem a little jumbled up, it's just because I'm busy. So, or a little drunk from this wedding ceremony, one or the other.
All right. Well, for Tina and Karen do the tube, I am Karen.
This is Tina.
All right, stay safe and stay hydrated, everyone. We love you.
Boom.